If you recall, in the previous episode, I said that I would begin this episode with a very funny story, and if you, like myself, have a fondness for humorous circumstances of an ironic naivete, you will thoroughly enjoy this latest account of Pete Finch, and the cognitive dissonance for which I so often express my distaste. Because sometimes, one can be so sure of their position, they don't realize it is in direct logical negation to another position they so desperately hold with equal conviction. A short but nevertheless true story of a recent event will serve to illustrate. By now, I'm sure you're aware of the fact that, aside from being a legitimate stalker, Pete Finch is a bit over the top, and chances are, possibly, maybe, even a tad mentally unhealthy. He seems to believe he is in some intellectual thriller, whereas he plays a kind of goodwill hunting character straight from the script of Matt Damon's personal writings. Pete Finch, an academic hero who has come to save everyone and anyone from the clutches of Jason Jewell's nefarious and flagitious plan to cause harm to innocent masses by purposefully and intentionally teaching incorrect logic to people on Facebook. And no, that is not a raillery of repartee or some attempt at a witty jest for the purpose of comedic hyperbole. That is an actual accusation Pete holds as unquestionably veritable and true. But he is not without his more lucid moments. For example, he has a notable detestation for being told that he does not pay attention. It is, to him without a doubt, simply the bête noire of his irritability. That's not what I said, Pete. Pay attention, Pete. Are you paying attention this time, Pete? Okay, one more time, but you have to pay attention, Pete. I must confess it's no secret that I accuse Pete of not paying attention fairly often. Not for any moral act of supposed revenge. No, the truth is much more primitive than even that. The simple fact of the matter is, he doesn't pay attention. Yet, we are all occasionally caught off guard with respect to the leniency of our own attention span. When Pete released his insult videos, even I was surprised. But I shouldn't have been. Not only did multiple people warn me that Pete had a bad habit of stalking people, but he was in his 6th month of stalking me, while also trying to contact both me, my family, and even celebrity philosophers I've grown to admire. And while I may have a small formal medical background, I'm no doctor, but I would guess that you can't be that unstable and then just get over it. But when almost overnight it all stopped, the stalking, the attempts at communication, being a normal person, I thought what any normal person would think. He probably grew up and stopped obsessing over me. Good for Pete. Good for Pete. Boy, was I wrong. Because now I know he was just going undercover to document his stalking behavior as a source of content for his offensive accusatory insult videos. Not sure why anyone would brag about that, but hey, it's Pete. So, Pete releases his insult videos on YouTube, the place where my clients often go to research me to better determine whether or not to book me for an event, and now I'm in a slight pickle. I mean, I don't want to converse with this fool, but I have to address the fact that there is a seriously obsessed individual who is living his life through me to a publicly noticeable extent. So, I mean, what do I do? It would be abnormal not to at least address it, but just as petty, immature, and a waste of time if I were to engage with him. Matt Dillahunty says people like this should not be engaged with at all, as they are more interested in attacking the individual and not the arguments. Well, regardless of what anyone says, I have 3 basic options. Number 1, I can stoop to Pete's level and partake in this ridiculously immature and childish back and forth bickering about his I know more than you mindset. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I can take the high road and apply Matt Dillahunty's advice and just ignore Pete and continue pretending he does not exist while having fun with his attempts to continuously follow me throughout Cyberdome, allowing him to document my conversations and life as any stalker would. Option number 3, I can respond to the situation and not necessarily to Pete himself or his assistant to the regional cyber stalker friends. Pete does not care. He just wants me to respond to his claims and accusations, but I'm gonna respond to whatever the hell I feel like responding to. I don't care about his academic disagreements with me. He can bring them up as much as he likes, and when I ignore him, he can use that as his evidence to the claim that I must not know the answer to his question. As far as Pete is concerned, if he asks you a question and you don't answer, you must not know the answer. Perfect reasoning. Where's the irony in all of this? Where's the promised humor? When I released my first video in response to Pete's insult videos, I made it very clear that I was not going to be addressing Pete's accusations in the first video. That was going to happen in the second video. Why? When you become involved in a conflict, you can be proud of your involvement, like fighting for civil rights, or embarrassed with your involvement, like having to argue with a child over something as ridiculous as a single philosophical disagreement. I'm looking at you, Pete. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you were looking at me through my computer, but I digress. The very last thing I want is to be caught engaging with someone like Pete. It makes me look just as petty as he is. There was no way in hell I was going to respond to Pete's videos without first explaining why I was even entertaining someone that ignorant and even more petty. The subject matter in the first video was explaining how the entire YouTube beef began, and how Pete's inability or refusal to pay attention affects any potential progress with respect to any conflict. The middle of the video literally went over the entire beginning to end story of how all this started. And at the end of the video, I even remind the viewers, now that I've explained how all of this began, in the next episode, we are going to address Pete's points and accusations. Pete had two very humorous things to say about all of this. Number one, he is sick and tired of how many times I mention his habit of not paying attention. Number two, his second complaint was that I did not respond to any of the points in the first video. And with this, I'm reminded of an old joke in which a man who was recently divorced explains to his friends the cause of his unfortunate marital split. As he begins to explain, he says, "Right before she left me, she said I never listened to anything she said or was saying or something, or I don't know, I wasn't paying attention." So, in an effort to respond to both of Pete's latest concerns, I hope the following will suffice. Number one, I'm getting sick of you telling me to pay attention. Well, I'm sorry for telling you that you don't pay attention, Pete. Please forgive me. It's possible I was wrong. And as for your second concern, why did you not respond to any of my points and accusations in the first video? Well, as the video explained about 6 times over the course of 22 minutes, the first video was meant to explain how this whole problem began, and why I'm responding at all. The first video goes on to explain, also 6 times, that the second video will be the one to address the very large amount of claims and accusations presented in your unique insult videos. Not sure how you missed it, especially with how much you do pay attention? Ironic.
And more often than not, he's debating with people. He is very sure to remind people, pretty much as a fixed talking point, that he is an expert on the subject. He studies the subject. He teaches this subject.
Oh, look at that. You made another claim without proving the last one. I didn't see that coming at all. I'm willing to bet my entire reputation that me being an expert has never been a fixed talking point, let alone a talking point in any discussion I've ever had, except for this one right now. At the most, it's either hyperbole or addressing a specific question someone asked me. But I'm sure you'll prove these claims later in the video too. He doesn't.
He also releases videos, which he claims are related to the subject.
First of all, that doesn't say propositional logic, Shakespeare. It says how to properly use logic. And secondly, do my videos contain aspects of propositional logic? Yeah. But never once have I ever released a video about propositional logic. If you got a cookbook relating to chicken, what do you think it would be about? Chicken. But your average cookbook is not relating to chicken simply because it uses chicken as an ingredient. My videos are about addressing claims and arguments. Propositional logic is just one of the ingredients that I use. It's not a 20-minute video discussing logic for the sake of discussing logic. It's actually about the evidence, not just the tools that evaluate the evidence. In your case, Pete, in order for me to evaluate evidence, you have to give me some. You're making quite a few accusations here, while not once stopping to demonstrate any of them to be true.
He also releases videos, which he claims are related to the subject.
Liar!
They're supposed to be educational videos.
Yes, Pete, that's what you call a video that educates you. An educational video. It's not the back of a cereal box. What's funny though is you say they're supposed to be educational videos, as if in just a few seconds you're about to demonstrate or prove why they're not. But you're not going to, and that's going to be a reoccurring theme throughout this entire video. This is actually a really good opportunity to see someone who can talk for so long without actually demonstrating anything. Instead, he will repeat his claims over and over, often in a different format, to make it sound more various, as if laughing is somehow equivalent to responding to a claim. He will, for example, read a statement that I've written and then giggle afterwards, as if that equates to an opposing argument. Hello, and this is Jason Jewell with Obvious News, and I'm here to give you a news flash, Pete. It doesn't.
The actual point of this video is to expose Jason for what he is. Jason is a liar. Jason is a fraud. Jason is a charlatan, and he manipulates people.
Okay, so Jason is a liar, Jason is a fraud, Jason is a charlatan, and Jason manipulates people. So, we're gonna put this in the box with the rest of the accusations. Are you gonna prove any of these true at some point?
Just hit a button, Morty. Give me a beat. Oh man. Okay. All right.
Are you gonna prove any of these true at some point? Are you gonna prove any of these? Are you gonna prove any of these true at some point? Are you gonna prove any of these true at some point? Are you gonna prove any of these true at some point? I'm just kidding. I know you don't know how to provide evidence for claims. Are you gonna prove any of these true at some point?
I'm going to present you guys with the most damning evidence against him. I'm going to present you guys with the most damning evidence against him. Something that he can't lie his way out of. So I hope you enjoy.
Well, hold on there, Pete. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You have to actually prove that I lied about something. In order for me to lie my way out of something, there has to be something to lie my way out of. This is what I meant when I said that Pete makes a claim and then just moves on to another claim as if, well, that's true now. So he accuses me of being a liar, and now he's assuming I'm a liar. He just skipped the middle part. The part where he had to prove I'm a liar. I guess you should have watched my video on the burden of proof, but since logic really isn't your forte, I'll help you through this. Let's say, for example, that you're taken to court for murder. It's not your job to immediately prove that you're innocent. You're already presumed innocent before the court trial even begins. It's the prosecution's job to prove that you're guilty. Your claims against me, Pete, are not true until I prove them false. They are not true until you prove they are true. And simply claiming that they're true because I haven't yet gone out of my way to prove that they're not true is an argument from ignorance fallacy on your part. But you say you have damning evidence that proves that I'm a liar, a fraud, a charlatan, and a manipulator. Things no one else has ever accused me of, until you. So, I'm excited to hear this damning evidence, whenever you get around to it. However, just a really quick note, I'm not really sure you can prove or demonstrate whether or not I study science, philosophy, or logic. Pete, you live 1,000 miles away. If you know what I do or do not study in my own home, I'm not debating you, I'm calling the police. Pointing out a disagreement that you and I have doesn't demonstrate how much I do or do not study a certain subject. Pointing out a certain disagreement that you and I have doesn't demonstrate how much I do or do not know about it. Even if I'm wrong. Have you never seen two professors in the same field debate each other? They can't both be right. So what, is the one that's wrong all of a sudden not qualified to have a degree in that field? If two doctors are debating about the medical industry and one of them is wrong, take away their license to practice medicine? Okay, Pete, I know you have a really bad habit of being unable to pay attention, so I'm going to say this very clearly. In any philosophical debate, even if I'm the one that's wrong, it will never demonstrate how much I do or do not study philosophy. It doesn't demonstrate how I'm a liar. It doesn't demonstrate how I'm a fraud. It doesn't demonstrate how I'm a charlatan. It doesn't demonstrate that I manipulate people. It demonstrates none of your accusations to be true. So at the moment, you're really just wasting time. Let's get to the point. You either don't know the difference between a claim and the evidence for a claim, or you just don't care. I'm pretty sure you don't know what constitutes as sufficient evidence.
I'm going to present you guys with the most damning evidence against him. Something that he can't lie his way out of. So I hope you enjoy. Gaspar is a friend of mine who is the administrator for a page called The Cult of Pure Reason. It's a page that's dedicated to logical arguments, assessing arguments. So if you're interested in debates regarding science, logic, politics, religion, this is the page for you. And I hope any of you that are interested definitely join this Facebook page. They also release YouTube videos assessing people's arguments.
Yes, you too can own your own Pathetic and Petty Pete. Pathetic and pretentious Petty Pete is fully equipped with weird voices. He's loaded with accusations, contradictions, and false claims. And don't forget, if you call now, you'll get 2 free cyber stalkers included with the offer. But you have to act fast. Psycho dumbasses are limited to this guy. Pathetically Petty and Pretentious Pete comes with 14 different accusations and 21 different claims. Sign up now. Evidence not included. Seriously? You're accusing another man of fraud, and you're gonna take a commercial break to promote someone's webpage. And not just any page, but the individual that you recruited to help you debate me. Is that what the deal was, to help you through this harrowing ordeal? Do you know what a conflict of interest is? It's a lot of work accusing someone of being a liar. You think that beefing with me is gonna somehow get your name more recognized? It won't. I busted my ass to accomplish the things that I've accomplished. Never once did I have to attach my name to someone else to take another step up the ladder. Never once did I have to accuse or insult someone in order to get attention. There's a name for what you're doing right now. It's called pathetic. Oh, and just to address something real quick,
I'm going to present you guys with the most damning evidence against him. My friend Gaspar and I are going to be discussing, in which it becomes very evident that Jason is clueless on the subject of propositional logic.
Liar!
what he means is Gaspar is gonna do most of the talking. Pete's gonna sit back, giggle, and agree. I'm serious, it's pretty funny too. And a few of you have asked me about this. This is not set up. These are real people. This isn't an act. We're not making this up. I didn't have them do this to make me look smart. They are doing this on their own accord, and I wouldn't be responding now if they hadn't been doing it for the past 8 months.
The first thing that I'd like to show you is a conversation regarding a post of which my friend Gaspar and I are going to be discussing, in which it becomes very evident that Jason is clueless on the subject of propositional logic.
Ah, another claim for the box. We're gonna need a bigger box. Yes, we get it. We're aware of what your claims and accusations are. We're just waiting for you to demonstrate it. We're waiting for you to prove it, which you have not even tried to do.
I never explain anything.
But now you're gonna prove that I'm clueless regarding propositional logic. Impressive. I'll be waiting for it.
In which it becomes very evident that Jason is clueless on the subject of propositional logic.
Of course, here, no one is talking about propositional logic. It's talking about logical fallacies.
This was one of my posts.
Holy shit, Peter Parker's backup has arrived. This is one of my many posts where... Sorry. Well, Pete, you kind of suck at applying logic, so let's see if you could pull this off with little help from your friends. Stay calm, focused, and concentrate. We're all rooting for you.
This was one of my posts where I was sort of satirically conveying my opinions regarding how informal fallacies differentiate between an appeal to legitimate or illegitimate authorities.
Whoa. Did you say you were just conveying your opinion? You're saying that this post that you made regarding logical fallacies is just your opinion. You don't know what an opinion is, do you, Gaston? An opinion. An opinion is a subjective statement that is neither true or false. It has no truth value whatsoever. It is a preference or a point of view of a specific individual. At no point is it possible to demonstrate the truth of an opinion. So if this is just your opinion, what the hell are we debating here? I'm sorry, but logic is not based on an opinion, genius. If you make a claim or an assertion regarding the subject of logic, it's either going to be true or not true.
I was sort of satirically conveying my opinions regarding how informal fallacies differentiate between an appeal to legitimate or illegitimate authorities.
Hold on.
According to...
Say that one more time.
How informal fallacies differentiate between an appeal to legitimate or illegitimate authorities.
Okay, so his sentence at this point is, I was just trying to demonstrate how informal fallacies differentiate from an illegitimate appeal to authority and a legitimate appeal to authority. Okay, let me stop you right there. That sentence is completely nonsensical, and I'm going to explain why very quickly right now. Okay, so first, what is a logical fallacy? So, for those that don't know, a logical fallacy is a flaw in reasoning that renders an argument incapable of demonstrating the claim it attempts to make. It doesn't mean that the claim is false. It means that the argument being supplied for this claim cannot demonstrate the truth of said claim. So, while in debate with anybody, if you find that your argument does have a logical fallacy, you have to go back to the drawing board. In my last video, Intellectual Kung Fu, episode 3, I go over 20 different logical fallacies. But here's a couple examples right now. The argument from popularity fallacy. This is when somebody claims X is true because, hey, a lot of people believe in it, or hey, a lot of people believe in it really strongly. What if the state of Michigan woke up tomorrow and believed the earth was flat? Would that then make it flat? Of course not. What if the whole country, what if the whole United States woke up and believed the earth was flat? Then would the earth become flat? Of course not. Even if the whole world woke up tomorrow and believed the earth was flat, it wouldn't make the earth flat. So what does this tell us? This tells us that the truth of a claim or an assertion is not affected in any way by the amount of people who believe in it, or by how strongly they believe in it. And any attempt to say that X is true based on the amount of people who believe X is true would be a fallacy which is called the argument from popularity. It's a fallacy because at no time can the amount of people who believe in a claim be used as evidence to support that claim. The argument from ignorance fallacy. The argument from ignorance fallacy. If Pete's videos had a more accurate title, this is probably what it would be called. The argument from ignorance fallacy is when somebody claims X is true because they don't have a better answer, or no one has proven it to be false. The problem is, if something is true, it's not going to be true because you can't think of a better answer. That is not why anything is true. Circular reasoning fallacy. Circular reasoning is when an individual assumes the truth of that which they're trying to prove. It's like saying, God exists. How do I know? It says so in the Bible. How can I trust the Bible? God tells me I can trust it. How do I know God exists? It says so in the Bible. You can't support 0 with 0 and get 2. And the most important fallacy to keep in mind for this circumstance, the argument from authority fallacy. This is when somebody claims that X is true because an authority in that field claims that it's true. Now, this is obviously a fallacy because 2 plus 2 does not equal 4 because a math teacher says 2 plus 2 equals 4. Otherwise, if that math teacher said that 2 plus 2 equals 5, it would all of a sudden equal 5. So there's quite a few more logical fallacies out there, but there's two different types of logical fallacies, a formal fallacy and an informal fallacy. A formal fallacy is when there's a flaw in the structure of an argument. An informal fallacy is when there's a flaw in something other than the structure of an argument, usually the truth of a premise. He's basically comparing a title to one of its subsets. Weird. So why doesn't that make any sense? Let me explain. Okay, so we know that a car is a subset of a vehicle. Why? Because all cars are vehicles, but not all vehicles are cars. Some vehicles are vans, some vehicles are trucks, some vehicles are bikes. Vehicle is the title. Car, bus, train, truck, those are the subsets. Fruit, that's the title. Apples, grapes, bananas, these are all subsets of fruit. An orange is a subset of fruit, because all oranges are fruits, but not all fruits are an orange. So, what is the difference between a pet and a dog? What's the difference between a natural disaster and a hurricane? What's the difference between breakfast and cereal? So you're trying to compare the title of a category against one of its members. Strange, but okay. You know, I didn't really want to interrupt this much, but truth be told, I didn't think you were going to screw up this much either.
Conveying my opinions regarding how informal fallacies differentiate between an appeal to legitimate or illegitimate authorities. According to According to some people, according to some sources.
Oh, according to some sources. According to some sources, we never went to the moon. Who do you consider a source? Anyone that mentions it? Anyone who uses it in a book? I used the term appeal to an illegitimate authority fallacy when I said it was a useless term. Am I a source now? I'm sorry, Gaspard. That's not how a logical fallacy works. If something is fallacious when one person uses it, and it's not fallacious when another person uses it, it's not a logical fallacy. It's not like you can get away with a flaw in your argument, kind of sometimes, when you're in the mood. That defeats the purpose of what a logical fallacy actually is. But like I said, if this is just your opinion, what the hell are we arguing about here? Neither one of us is wrong, and neither one of us is right. I don't care what's true according to some sources. I care about what is true. Opinions are irrelevant to the truth of a claim or proposition. But you know what's really crazy? If you were right and I was wrong, do you know what that would prove? Do you know what that would prove? Do you know what that would prove? Absolutely nothing. It wouldn't prove I'm a liar. It wouldn't prove I'm a fraud. It wouldn't prove I'm a charlatan. And it wouldn't prove I'm an idiot.